I'm a feminist.
I am a feminist.
I'm a feminist.
I'm a feminist.
I'm a feminist.
I'm a feminist.
Alrighty.
How do we feel about women having rights?
Yes.
Really cool thing.
Absolutely.
The more the merrier.
What would you say is the most feminist thing about you yourself?
I believe women should be paid the same across the board, not just white women, but women of color. You can't be a person of color and not believe that women should have the same rights as I, as a black person. So that's why I'm a feminist. And I believe that feminism is about women being equal, period.
Yeah. For me, it's just like uplifting women's voices for women's rights. I think like a good thing for us to start, like, how do you guys define feminism?
Like an advocacy for equity in the institutions for women, right? Not just in the economy and society, but also in government and other positions of power.
Like I looked over and I saw, like, not to hate anyone that wears running shoes, but like I saw the running shoes and I just assumed. I think that's just like a trope that like a lot of like anti-feminists, like right-wingers dress more for comfort than style. So it's just a stereotype that I was playing on.
I think supporting women in all areas, so reproductive rights, work, pay rights, all that type of stuff. And I think being a voice for the ones that can't speak up, because I find myself getting into arguments with people because I'm like, I will like really like have this conversation with you. So I think just always supporting them no matter what.
My eye immediately went to Emma. I was like, that very much could be a conservative woman in this group, just based on her outfit. It was a great outfit. She looked great. I guess my view on feminism is that it goes beyond women as well. Like, we include trans people in there, and like by uplifting women and trans people, you then see a better society and environment for like men and like other people. You said something about agreeing with women no matter what they do. Like, I fully disagree. I feel like feminism, you have to hold women accountable. Like, there are women like J.K. Rowling who like leading and spearheading a transphobia movement in the UK, and you can't like hide behind feminism when you were literally hurting women and children.
Oh, totally. I feel like that was just like a broad statement when I say supporting women. I think for me, when I was in a workplace run by men, I feel like I couldn't stand up to like the plate and step up and really like talk about how I'm feeling, because I would just get shut down. So I think like in those situations, I mean, like if there's like no one that can like support someone, like you should support them and educate them in a way.
What do you usually do in instances where you're like shut down by a man in power, you could say?
Well, nowadays it's different.
Okay.
If I was saying a few years ago, I would just kind of like rebuttal and just go about and do what they want me to do. But now I have a voice and I will kind of, there's not like something equal. I will just point out the fact that, hey, that's not fair. Like, it's just a thing of being strong and powerful, I think.
And so what do men do in those situations?
Women a lot of the time aren't taken seriously by men in the patriarchy. I think it's really important for us to like let our voices be heard and uplift their voices.
Yeah. Keep each other in check.
Yeah, allow a platform for women to speak, let their voices be heard, because that's the most effective way to dismantle ignorance.
His speech seemed very practiced or thought out. It didn't seem natural. I think also just putting women in leadership at my work, all of leadership is all women.
Yeah.
And I feel the safest there compared to other workplaces where I've been kind of like duking it out with the boss man kind of thing.
Yeah. My bosses are all women too. And
Of course.
I will say that traditionally I have had issues with women being my boss, but as
You hate to see a strong woman.
As
That's what
I've
you're
grown,
saying.
as I've grown, and educationally, now that I know women's roles, and so I agree with you with that assessment that women in leadership, it is just something about it. I feel safer too.
And I grew up with a family of brothers, so I was always having to like fight to say anything, and also a Hispanic household, so a lot of times it was like, the woman's here to serve and all of that, and having like grown up with that kind of like mindset made me go the complete opposite, you know what I'm saying?
If you like this episode and you want to see more, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Now let's figure out who the mole is.
I think when people tend to use a lot of dictionary definitions, they were either studying up on it. I mean, you don't have to go Merriam-Webster on us and trying to explain it.
You know, Emma, she's a little too comfortable and uncomfortable at the same time, if that makes any sense. Good luck, everybody.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. I had a weird hunch that it was coming. I'm very formal. So that can make it seem like I'm kind of more nervous or more studied, rehearsed.
I want to expand on what you said. I'm wondering how you guys feel about trans women in women's sports.
I'm down for it.
I'm a trans person myself, and I think the root of that problem tends to stem with we're protecting children, but you can't say you're protecting children if you're kicking out trans children. It is like a non-starter, and it distracts from, I think, more imperative issues with the banning of gender-affirming care and housing, and that's one of my biggest problems with modern day feminism, is that it tends to center rich cis-het white women, and I'm like, that's weird.
No, 100%.
How do you feel?
Well, yeah, I just want to see, because I was wondering, I don't know how the casting works. I don't know if there's any turfs or swerfs in the group, because I don't determine that to be feminism.
Slay.
Because for me, trans women are women, so we should be protecting all women, not just cis women.
I have no problem about sports and stuff, but I also don't want to silence the J.K. Rowlings of the world, because I believe in democracy. And I believe to know your enemy, I want them to speak. That's how they used to do things in the old days. That's what the KKK does. They hide their face.
Sure.
I want to know who they are, and I want them to speak freely so you know who the enemy is.
Sometimes they get a little violent though, and it turns into other things.
I think I understand what you mean. You agree with free speech, but not to the point where it should restrict someone else. You don't have
No, but I definitely want the J.K. Rowlings and the Marjorie Taylor Greens to talk. I want them to talk, because I want to know who they are.
They sound so stupid.
Well, stupid, but you also want to know who they are.
Emma, what do you think? You haven't said anything.
I'm kind of I'm not against it. I'm not so much. I feel like I don't have a clear answer, because with kids, when you talk about kids doing it, I don't think with children, I think everyone should, everyone's the same, they have the same strengths and everything like that. But I think in professional sporting situations, I might need to educate myself more on this, so this might be what I need to come out of today and do. But I think trans women still have more strength than women. But even saying that, they're women, but I feel like it's not even exactly.
She compared trans women to women, referring to cis women as the women, and kind of then referring to trans women as not women. I was like, oh, it might be her.
They have an advantage, you would say?
Yeah, a slight advantage.
So you might be against it, maybe?
I mean, see, I don't want to say that though, because then I'm not really supporting all women.
Okay.
But
so if it's professional, let's be honest. If you're good, you're good. I think if a transgender woman went up to play tennis against Serena Williams, and it's a transgender woman, she'd probably more than likely lose.
Yeah, because Serena Williams is one of the greatest of all time.
So when we talk about strength and stuff, sometimes it's just skill.
Yeah, so I think for sure, there's some that they're absolutely even, but I think in very limited areas of sport, then there might be a slight advantage. But things, tennis and soccer, those type of things are all skill.
A lot of people get mad at trans women in sports, when in reality, majority of trans women that compete in sports currently aren't doing that well. It's not like there's a crazy big advantage. A lot of them are on hormones for a long time. It's even gotten to the point where we're trying to make cis women who have high testosterone way lower.
So it's a regulated thing, so I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Yeah. Right.
Well, and a lot of times, let's just call it what it is. It's about people's religion. It's about your ideology, your religion.
Yeah.
And which, again, has no place in.
They're shielding their hate.
Yeah, because Jesus said so.
Not so much what he was saying or stating, but the fact that he was just giving me information overload. I was you kind of distracted me from what we were actually discussing.
When the question of sports came up, Emma immediately kind of withdrew. And also, as a trans person, I'm just immediately that's suspicious to me.
Good luck. Thank you. I could have easily just agreed and played the game and got to the end. But I know this is a game, but I think it's also a game of topics and conversation. So I'm not mad about getting voted out and how it went.
If you think the mole could still be in the box and you want to continue playing the game, please raise your hand.
I think we're set.
I will still vote to continue, but if you guys want to end it, I'm cool with ending it.
The light turns green. That means you have voted out the mole and you all win. If the lights turn red, that means the mole is still in the box and you lose. 3,
That's good.
2, 1.
Let's go. Oh my God. My bad. I was scared.
I knew it.
It's okay.
May the mole step forward in 3, 2, 1.
step right up, whoever
I
it is.
thought, yeah.
There is no mole.
Yeah, check that.
My bad.
I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
I just knew it was you.
First impressions, right?
So here's the thing. The mole actually never showed up, but we still wanted you all to play the game.
This was a good one.
I was shocked. I was for certain we kicked out the mole. We were done, case closed, and I feel like I was probably too quick to judge.
I think it's an interesting social experiment to see infighting even within these groups. Getting a bunch of feminists in the room and seeing who points to another one and say, I don't think you're a feminist. Extremely interesting to me. And also extremely interesting that I was the first one out.
I felt some hesitation about coming on the show just because I didn't want to come off as someone, as a man, accusing women of not being feminists, because it's a really weird position to be in. I'm like, is it corny to go on a show and be like a male feminist? But like, no, it shouldn't be.
I think walking away from this, I really want to educate myself more on transgender women. That's something I've learned.
You cannot be about democracy, equality, freedom, and all this stuff, and then sit up here and have barriers in place for somebody because of their gender. I think it's just our job as people to be accepting and loving and just say, I'm here to listen. How much is this? Okay. Can you sell this to me?